Hey there, Rebels fans. Andi Gutierrez coming at you from inside Lucasfilm headquarters. This week, Saw Gerrera returned, and the results were explosive to say the least. And now I'm here to show you how it all came together. This is Rebels Recon. Joining forces with the larger Rebel cell on Yavin 4, the Ghost crew embarks on a mission to tap into an Imperial satellite.
We must have patched into the main comm circuit by mistake. We're intercepting all incoming transmissions.
However, when the plan goes awry, Saw Gerrera shows up and saves the day, but not before recruiting Ezra and Sabine for a mission of his own.
The Empire wiped out a whole population because they were building something they've hidden away.
Searching for clues aboard a civilian freighter, Saw, Ezra, and Sabine discover a giant kyber crystal that brings the Rebels closer to discovering what secrets the Empire has in store.
The Empire is already on the verge of winning a war most of the Rebel Alliance doesn't believe has already begun.
This week, we got to see the Rebels finally arrive on Yavin 4. I sat with the cast and crew to talk about the current state of the rebellion, what it was like incorporating this legendary setting in the series, and took a deeper dive into Saw Gerrera's motivations. Our Rebels have finally connected with the larger rebellion on Yavin 4. What's the state of the rebellion at this time? Is this the Rebel Alliance, or is it still individual cells?
Well, I think there's a lot made of what is the definitive moment of there being a Rebel Alliance. In the fan-based world, and everybody likes to think, what is that moment? But as a story for us, it's not that important a moment because we've been fighting the Empire all along. We've kind of made clear that they were on their own in the beginning, this Rebel cell, that in the second season they actually linked up with more groups. Once Mon Mothma gets involved, I guess that's when it's more of an alliance because she's declaring them pretty openly.
But as we know from Rogue One, there is still disagreements as to how they're going to operate. So that's kind of where we are. We are in between those extremes. What it takes is a threat like the Death Star to congeal these disparate groups into the proper Rebel alliance.
The Rebels finally make it to Yavin 4 in this episode.
Yes.
What does it mean for you to be so directly tied into the beginning of the saga?
That hit me on a couple of levels. I read it in the script. I went and saw Rogue One, and so I got another re-energizing for all those feels.
Initially, it's really emotional. Words can't describe how it feels. Literally, when I read the script by myself, I give myself permission to weep openly so that I can get it together by the time I have to read it in front of a group of people, and then I can sort of be professional.
I mean, that's why Star Wars is so sick. Like, everything comes together. It's cool that everything is in the same world. That's awesome, and that's what makes all of it so fun and why paying attention to every little storyline is cool for fans, I think.
So the Yavin base is obviously an iconic Star Wars setting. How do you go about creating it for animation?
That was really fun. I actually got to work on Yavin base. The inner 6-year-old in me was like really nerding out when I got to do that, but that was fun. It was also a challenge too because A New Hope, they're working on sets and everything, and you actually have to kind of physically make it work with 3D models. It was a lot to figure out actually from reference.
We knew that visually you had to see these things that were iconic in Star Wars that would immediately make you think of that. So we didn't stray too much. We used reference as much as possible from the movies. That last sequence in A New Hope, that type of lighting that you have around like a conference table where everyone's kind of standing. We did a little bit of that with all the people standing around that same table on the interior.
Yavin 4 is obviously a very iconic setting from A New Hope and now Rogue One. Was it always the goal to have the show line up so directly with the films?
No, and it's not a goal still. You know, in some ways you almost want to avoid those things to keep the characters independent and making their own choices and having their own path and destiny, not serving as some footnote on the journey of another character. When things worked out in talking to Gareth and John Knoll about the movie Rogue One, we're like, well, it seems reasonable with the scale that you've made the operation on Yavin that our Rebels would have gone there because it's much more of a hub.
What I really liked about this episode is we really got some fire out of Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma is all about projecting this implacable cool and confidence, and to see a crack in that veneer, I love what Genevieve did, and I love that we were able to take that character there.
We've been following Saw now for half a season. What's it like bringing that character up to speed to where we see him in Rogue One?
It was so phenomenal to team up with the Rogue One team to bring Saw into our universe. We recorded Forrest Whitaker for this role. He really cares about this character, and he wanted to know what is his backstory, where is this in the timeline, and it was just such an honor to record him on Rebels.
Here, really, Sabine and Ezra get witness as to what Saw is willing to do, and finally understand what Mon Mothma and Bail Organa's position is of this guy's too dangerous and unpredictable for us to have him as part of our camp kind of thing.
We made a decision back in Clone Wars that when Steela died, it really altered Saw's path. that he might have turned out to be a different person if his sister had lived. When George and I talked about Saw, we wanted to lay groundwork for his future because he was always going to be someone that was more of an extremist. It gets into this theme, which is the dark and the light are things that are not just the area of the Jedi and the Sith. We all can make dark choices or selfless choices, selfish choices.
Right.
And Saw can't let go of the anger and the hate and the fear he has over what happened to him when he was very young. We all have choices to make, and that's what drives us in the end to who we will be and what will contribute to the galaxy.
Well, what did you expect? R3's a lot bigger than you.
Let's get you fixed up, Chop.
After last week's premiere, you had quite a few questions for the Lucasfilm Story Group's Pablo Hidalgo. And as always, I delivered for you, the fans. Watch.
Hello, Pablo.
Andy, we're doing these again.
Yeah, did you miss me?
Yeah.
Oh, I have 2 questions for you this week.
It's last season, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So Enoch Robinson asks, in Stormtrooper armor mode, could Sabine's Duchess weapon have taken out Vader?
No, because actually we've said Stormtrooper armor and Vader armor are 2 different things. Some of our guidebooks have pointed out that Stormtrooper armor is made out of plastoid, while Darth Vader's armor is made out of Durasteel, so it doesn't seem like the same setting would affect both.
Okay. Curtis Ebanks asks, why does Kanan need a hologram of Hera when he's blind?
Well, he doesn't, but obviously Hera wants to see Kanan, and the easiest way to do that is a standard 2-way holographic communication. And besides, we the audience want to see Hera, so we win out in that situation.
Okay, Pablo, thank you.
All right,
I'll
see ya.
see you next week.
Have questions about In the Name of the Rebellion or any other Rebels questions you want answered? Tweet them to @StarWars using the hashtag Rebels Recon, and we'll answer what we can online. And now, here's an exclusive first look at The Occupation, one of next week's brand new episodes.
Look at the sky. Kanan, what have they done? Lothal looks like it's dying.
Your home isn't exactly the place you remember, kid. Better prepare yourself.
Supply ship Broken Horn. We have a lock. Transmit clearance codes.
Oh, the things I do for money.
Thanks for watching Rebels Recon. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. But if you need more Rebels info in the meantime, check out the episode guide for In the Name of the Rebellion on StarWars.com right now. Thanks again, and may the Force be with you.